They say the truth will set you free, but they never tell you how heavy the truth actually is before you let go of it. For 3 years, I carried a secret that wasn't even mine. I carried the weight of a humiliation that nearly destroyed me. I let a woman named Vanessa strip me of my career, my reputation, and my dignity, just so she could shine in a boardroom for 5 minutes. She fired me to look smart. She ruined my life to cover her own incompetence. She thought I was just a casualty, a stepping stone. She forgot one thing. When you throw someone into the trash, you better make sure they don't find the receipt for your crimes inside the bin. Today, I'm not walking into an unemployment office. I'm walking into a federal courthouse. And I'm not just looking at Vanessa across the aisle. I'm looking at her husband, Richard Sterling, the CEO of Sterling Vance. They think they can bury me. But I brought a shovel, and I'm about to dig their graves. My name is Rose, and before everything fell apart, I was the director of operations at Sterling Vance Logistics. I didn't get there through nepotism. I didn't get there because I knew the right people at the country club. I got there because I worked 80-hour weeks for 5 years straight. I was the person who knew where every shipping container was, from Shanghai to Seattle. I built their tracking system from the ground up. I was the architect of their efficiency. But in the corporate world, being good at your job makes you a target, especially when a new executive comes in who needs to prove herself. Enter Vanessa Sterling, Richard's wife. She had been bored with her interior design firm, so Richard decided to give her a playground. He made her the VP of strategy, my boss. The first time she walked into my office, she didn't look at the data charts on the wall. She looked at my shoes. She looked at my desk. She sneered at my coffee mug. "Rose," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "We need to shake things up. This department feels stale." Stale? We had just posted record profits for the 3rd quarter. But I smiled. I played the game. I said, "I'm open to your vision, Vanessa." That was my first mistake. Never offer your vision to someone who is blind to everything but their own reflection. Over the next 6 months, my life became a waking nightmare. Vanessa didn't understand logistics. She didn't understand supply chains. She would demand we reroute shipments to save money, ignoring the fact that the new routes would add 3 weeks to delivery times. When I tried to explain, politely, privately, she would wave her hand. "You're too stuck in the weeds, Rose. You lack big picture thinking." Then came the Project Nexus. It was a massive government contract, millions of dollars on the line. I did the work. I stayed late every night, fueled by vending machine coffee and anxiety, building the proposal. I double-checked the compliance regulations. I ensured the budget was airtight. Vanessa? She was planning the launch party. 2 days before the final presentation to the board of directors and to the government auditors, Vanessa came to my desk. "Rose," she said, "send me the final files. I want to tweak the formatting. I want it to look pretty." I hesitated. I had a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. But she was the VP. I sent the files. I should have locked them as PDF only. I should have kept a shadow copy on the main server. But I trusted the hierarchy. The day of the presentation, the boardroom was packed. Richard sat at the head of the table, looking like a king. The auditors were there. Vanessa stood up. She looked radiant. She pulled up the presentation, and my heart stopped. The numbers were wrong. Not just slightly off, they were drastically, dangerously wrong. The budget projections had been slashed by 40%. The compliance section, the most critical part, was missing entirely. One of the auditors, a sharp man named Mr. Henderson, raised his hand. "Miss Sterling, these projections, they're mathematically impossible. You're promising delivery at a cost that is lower than the price of fuel." The room went silent. Richard frowned. "Vanessa?" And then, she did it. She didn't panic. She didn't stutter. She turned slowly, her eyes locking onto mine with the precision of a predator. "Rose," she said, her voice shaking with feigned disappointment. "I told you to fix these calculations 3 times. I trusted you to handle the data entry while I focused on the strategy. How could you be this careless?" I sat there, frozen. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. She was lying. She had changed the numbers to make the profit margins look bigger, not realizing she had made the logistics impossible. I stammered. "Vanessa, you changed the file. I sent you—" "Enough." Richard slammed his hand on the table. "I will not have my wife accused of incompetence by a subordinate who can't do basic math. Rose, get out." "Richard, please, check the timestamps." "Get out." They didn't just fire me. They escorted me out like a criminal. Security watched me pack my box, a picture of my dog, a stapler, my cactus, my entire career reduced to a cardboard box. Vanessa stood by the elevator, arms crossed, looking sad for the audience. But as I passed her, she leaned in. No one else could hear her. "You're good at the work, Rose," she whispered, "but you're bad at the politics. Someone had to take the fall for those numbers. Better you than me." The elevator doors closed, cutting off her face. I went home and cried for 3 days. I couldn't get a reference. Sterling Vance is a giant in the industry. Richard made sure the word got out. Rose is unreliable. Rose cracks under pressure. Rose can't do math. I lost my apartment. I had to move into a studio on the bad side of town. I was applying for jobs I was overqualified for and getting rejected. I was angry. But mostly, I was confused. Why change the numbers so drastically? Vanessa was arrogant, yes, but she wasn't stupid. The numbers she presented weren't just optimistic, they were fraudulent. That question haunted me. Why? 3 months later, I was eating instant noodles, staring at my old laptop. I still had my personal cloud account logged in. I was about to delete everything to purge Sterling Vance from my life forever. I started clicking through old folders, and then I saw it. Backup Nexus, January 14th, .zip. It wasn't the presentation. It was a data dump from the server that I had pulled to work on the analytics at home over the weekend. I had forgotten I downloaded the raw logistics logs, not the polished reports, the raw tracking data of the shipping containers. I opened the file just out of curiosity. I wanted to see where Vanessa had gone wrong. I started tracing the container IDs. Container A459, listed as office furniture. Destination, Cayman Islands. Container B220, listed as textiles. Destination, Cyprus. I frowned. Sterling Vance didn't ship furniture to the Caymans. We handled industrial machinery. I cross-referenced the weight of the containers. Office furniture usually weighs a certain amount per cubic foot. These containers were light. Too light. And then I saw the payment logs attached to the shipping orders. The payments weren't coming from clients. They were internal transfers. Shell companies. My blood ran cold. I sat up straight. I started typing furiously, pulling up the code I had written, the tracking system I built. The numbers Vanessa had presented in that boardroom, the ones that were mathematically impossible. They weren't just errors. They were a mask She had slashed the budget projections to hide the fact that millions of dollars were being siphoned out of the operational costs. She needed the official budget to look low so that the actual money, the dirty money, could be moved through the shipping lanes without raising flags on the balance sheet. She didn't fire me because I messed up the presentation. She didn't even fire me just to look smart. She fired me because I was the only person in the company who knew the tracking algorithm well enough to spot the pattern. If I had stayed, I would have asked questions about container A459. She fired me to protect a massive international money laundering scheme. Richard wasn't just a CEO protecting his wife. He was the ringleader, and Vanessa was the cleaner. I didn't call the company. I didn't call a lawyer. I called the FBI. I met 2 agents in a diner at 2 a.m. I handed them a flash drive. They looked at me, a woman in a worn-out coat, looking tired and defeated. They were skeptical. "Why now?" Agent Miller asked. "You were fired 3 months ago. Is this just revenge?" "It started as revenge," I told him. "I wanted to prove she was incompetent. But I found out she's a felon." They took the drive. 2 weeks later, the news broke. FBI raids Sterling Vance headquarters. It was all over the TV. Richard in handcuffs, Vanessa shielding her face with a designer bag. But they had high-priced lawyers, the best money could buy. Their defense strategy was simple. Blame the rogue employee. Blame the disgruntled director of operations who was fired for incompetence and planted evidence to frame them. They were trying to pin it on me. They said I created the fake logs. They said I was the mastermind. I received a subpoena. I was going to testify. The night before the trial, I got a phone call. Unknown number. "Rose," a voice said. It was Richard. "You're a smart girl. Don't ruin your future. We can fix this. A payment. A settlement. Just say you made a mistake on the stand." "I don't make mistakes, Richard," I said, my voice steady for the first time in months. "That's why you fired me." I hung up. The courtroom was freezing. Vanessa sat at the defense table. She looked pale. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a terrified sharpness. Richard wouldn't look at me. Their lawyer was brutal. "Ms. Rose," he paced in front of me, "you were fired for incompetence, were you not?" "I was fired unjustly," I replied. "But you were fired, and you were angry. You wanted to hurt Mrs. Sterling because she humiliated you. Isn't that true?" I wanted the truth. "The truth?" The lawyer laughed. "The truth is, you tampered with those files. You had access. You built the system." The jury looked at me. I could see doubt creeping into their eyes. It was my word against the titans of industry. "I built the system," I said clearly, "which is why I know that the system logs every single change with a biometric ID." The lawyer stopped pacing. "I anticipated this," I continued, looking directly at Vanessa. "When I built the tracking architecture 5 years ago, I installed a black box feature, a read-only file that records who authorizes every shipment. It cannot be deleted. It cannot be altered. Not by me. Not by the CEO." I turned to the judge. "If you check the metadata on the evidence I provided, you will see that the authorization for the Cayman shipments came from a terminal located in the CEO's private residence, logged in under the user ID 𝐕_Sterling. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. It was heavier than the day I was fired. Vanessa gasped. She grabbed Richard's arm. Richard pulled away from her, his face turning purple. That's not possible," the lawyer stammered. "It's not just possible," I said. "It's math. And as Vanessa told everyone, I'm very good at the details. The jury took 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: fraud, embezzlement, Money laundering. Richard got 20 years. Vanessa got 15. As they led Vanessa away, she looked back at me. There was no sneer this time, just shock. She realized, finally, that firing me was the most expensive decision she ever made. I didn't get my job back at Sterling Vance. The company was dissolved. But I didn't want it back. I started my own consulting firm last month. My first client? The government auditors who saw me testify. They say success is the best revenge. But honestly, watching the woman who tried to destroy me trade her designer suit for an orange jumpsuit, that was pretty sweet too. She wanted to look smart. Now she just looks like an inmate. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Don't let them take your dignity. And never, ever delete your backups. If you enjoyed this story of justice served, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. It helps us share more stories like this. Welcome to Revenge Beyond Love.